And here are the details. Now, President John Dramani Mahama has nominated the following as Metropolitan, Municipal and District Chief Executives. The nominations are in accordance with Article 243, Clause 1 of the 1992 Constitution and Section 20, Clause 1 of the Local Government Act 1993, Act 462. The Nzema East, James A.K. Bedu, Wa Municipal Isahaku Nuhu, Drapa Vivienne Nelly Kunko Bononkori, and Lambusi Kani Bom Kofi Diyaka. That's for Ada. For Ada East is Peter Kofi Adote, and for Gan West is Sam Atukwe. Cape Coast is Priscilla Ahin, and Upper Dentra is Emilia Ankoma. Sojaman is Thomas Ampem Nyakom, and New Drabing is Dr. Kweku Owusu Echampon. For the full list, you can check it out on myjoyonline.com. Now, persons living with various forms of disability and stigmatization called on President Mahama with a plea for legislative reforms to alleviate their plight. They laid before him the challenges they face on a daily basis because of their condition. The president, however, assured them most of their grievances will be catered for by the realigned Gender, Children and Social Protection Ministry, even as efforts are being made to comprehensively address them. The group, describing itself as the marginalized group in Ghana, consists of the blind, the deaf, persons living with HIV and AIDS, female commercial sex workers, rescued trafficked children, autistic persons and albinos, as well as female head porters. They were led to the presidency by the sector minister Nana Oyeleta, who said they came to the Flagstaff House to tell their stories.
We want the institutions, the municipals, the district to put in programs that can bring stigma down. Now, there are persons with HIV goes, sometimes the drugs are not being there. It gives a lot of frustration. And again, we talk about the affordability. Sometimes the price there, the 5 Ghana cedis, is really a big challenge for some of our friends who cannot pay. So our issue is availability, affordability, and accessible. We know that when this happens, we can get to 0 new infection in the country.
And I was a product of University of Ghana Legon. I majored in psychology, and due to alcohol and drug abuse, I mismanaged my life. I lost focus and I nearly lost it all. I want to use this platform to make an appeal to the President, His Excellency, that there are still 150 more or so inmates back at the rehab center, and through the director, Apostle Kobe Washington, and his wife, so many lives are being changed. So if there's anything you can do to help, I want to be their voice. As you can see, I'll be rehabilitated. I want him to also give a hand to others who are there to also help them to come out and be a blessing to society.
I scoop water from the canoe. I do this for 3 years. Some boys and girls are still on the island suffering. Some were dive in the water and they couldn't come back, and they were buried without informing their family. Your Excellency, I'm pleading that you help our master so that you rescue all those who are suffering from the people they are with.
A 15-year-old female sex worker appealed for support, especially for dropouts, since most of them, like her, end up in brothels where they are abused due to their parents' inability to put them through school. Despite their specific needs, one main theme running through their appeals is logistical support for the various social welfare institutions and programs for the vulnerable in society. Among the measures being explored to address issues of the vulnerable in society, according to President Mahama, is a compilation of a database of marginalized persons.
There are a lot of people in the vulnerable bracket who, giving a skill or giving a trade, would be able to empower themselves and pull themselves out of the vulnerable society target using social protection programs. We also want to create a database of all vulnerable and marginalized people in society so that we know who they are and where they are. That can be the beginning of properly targeting our social intervention programs, including, for instance, the request that was made that we should allow persons with disability to have free registration on the National Health Insurance Program. We are committed to establishing the Mental Health Council. The Disability Council is to be reconstituted. The term of office has ended, and I assure you we're in the process of reconstituting it.
He said he was deeply touched by their stories, adding all their concerns would guide policy formulation. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Flagstaff House. An implementation committee has been put together by the Education Ministry to facilitate the conversion of polytechnics into technical degree awarding universities. During a courtesy call on President John Mahama at the Flagstaff House, Chairman of the Conference of Rectors of Polytechnics, Professor G.K.A. Aflakpi, said the need for a change in mindset regarding technical and vocational education is even more imperative now, adding such courses should not be relegated to the background.
The time has come for us to change our concept of TVET education to thinking that people who opt for TVET education have opted for it because they were not able to advance, into some other form of education. TVET must be a choice that people make to acquire a certain skill to be able to fit into the world of work. I agree with you about the need for us to change the orientation at the basic and secondary level, towards science and mathematics. At that level, there seemed to be a kind of aversion for mathematics and science-based courses. Most students eventually find themselves, avoiding those courses and going into the general humanities and the other liberal arts. But for a country to develop, it needs the technical manpower, especially in the middle level technical, skills to be able to develop. We look at examples like Germany, Korea, Singapore. All of them have been developed by that middle level technical manpower. I hope that working together with you, when we achieve this conversion into technical universities, we will keep the focus of those universities as technical and not be swamped by, the more liberal, subject areas.
The Ministry of Education has signed a contract with the Accra Polytechnic in a pilot program to outline benchmarks by which the performance of the institute will be measured. The launch of the 5-year strategic plan comes at a time when students of the institute are accusing authorities of failing to address their problems. Moving on, President of the Ghana Journalists Association, Alpha Moni, says it is untrue that a recent meeting with national security aims to gag media houses in their discourse concerning the Supreme Court verdict. Speaking at a forum organized by the GJA, he explained the meeting urged self-regulation and the weeding out of persons whose contribution cause tension and endanger national peace and security.
The forum was geared towards reinforcing the need for media houses to enforce their gatekeeping role and to be more responsible in preventing situations which could scale up tension after the Supreme Court's verdict. President of the Ghana Journalists Association, Afel Moni, said at a recent meeting between the national security and some journalists, it was agreed to self-regulate and shut media space to people whose contributions inflame passions. He also urged journalists to uphold the core principles of the profession with a quest to promote peace. He reminded journalists to be mindful of Article 164 of the 1992 Constitution, which imposes national security and public order restrictions on media freedom. Gabriel Blay-Amihia, chairman of the National Media Commission, cautioned media houses to be circumspect in their reportage.
In the exercise of the editorial freedoms, media houses may so choose to take such a decision that prevents post-verdict commentary, but that will be their own editorial judgment, which cannot be imposed on others. Since the 92 Constitution in Article 162 rejects censorship in Ghana, self-regulation is not censorship, and therefore it is expected that the media and citizens who use the media to express their views on the verdict and other political issues will use decent language and avoid inflammatory statements that can destabilize the nation.
He observed that the National Media Commission has a collaboration with the National Communication Authority and the Police Service to protect the freedom and safety of the media, but seeks to ensure that the media does not threaten the peace and security in the country.
The Civic Forum Initiative, an umbrella organization that brings together some of the country's key civil society groups, has vowed to hold the country's political leaders to the assurances to accept the verdict of the Supreme Court on the election petition. At a joint news conference ahead of the delivery of the ruling this Thursday, the group also expressed confidence in the panel of justices to deliver a fair judgment.
The civil society organizations making up the CFI, such as the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, Ghana Center for Democratic Development, and the Institute for Democratic Governance at the news conference, commended the two leading political parties for resorting to legal means to address the disputes arising from the 2012 election, adding that the assurances from their leaders are heartening.
We wish to use this medium to remind them that we intend to hold them to their promises. We believe that the political maturity and tolerance exhibited by the parties would amount to nothing if any of them reject the Supreme Court's ruling because of partisan and parochial considerations.
The group says the political leaders would be expected on the day of the ruling to send out a firm and constructive messages out to their followers around the country to send the right signals about Ghana's democracy. The CSOs also explained that the petitioners and respondents are obliged to accept the verdict once they have submitted the entire process. The executive director of IDEC, Dr. Emmanuel Akwete, chided recent remarks from some quarters suggesting a conditional acceptance of the verdict.
If you go to the court, you cede your right to determine justice to them. The authority to determine justice lies with the justices. So those who are qualifying their statements and saying we would only accept it if it does justice, they don't have the right any longer. And we want every citizen to understand that it is only the justices who have the authority to determine justice. If you disagree with them, you can go back. That's what they call the review procedure. We must respect authority and our institutions in order to develop our country democratically and peacefully.
A member of Kodayo, Sheikh Aremeyaw, also says structures have to be put in place to monitor reactions to the verdict.
Assess the situation, and we will put the fact there because we have already made the promise, and we will in effect shame a political party that will engage in things that will destabilize the peace of the country, because we don't want any person to put its parochial interests above the supreme interests of the country.
Having expressed confidence in the security services to discharge their duties professionally before and after the verdict, the group also called on the media to be circumspect in their reportage to help in their collective efforts of promoting peace.
Meanwhile, the executive director of the West African Network for Peacebuilding, Emmanuel Bombande, is confident Ghana's electoral system would benefit from the election petition, as the problems that were identified would be corrected in the next election. According to him, the country standing globally is bound to appreciate once it scales over this hurdle.
Let's all accept the ruling, and then out of that ruling we must ask ourselves the critical question: how do we organize elections in such a way that we do not have any party feeling that they must go to the Supreme Court? If we had done this after 2008, we probably would have been better off today. But after 2008 we came to the brink, and then we appeased one another. Oh, let's move on. Now in 2012 one party went to court. Do we know what will happen in 2016? So we must reform. I will be advocating for deep reforms, not surface. In other words, digging deep and asking ourselves what is in need of change. Now, once we begin to list what is in need of change, we now develop consensus across party, across the country, and find the sustainable solutions that deepen democracy. to be good for our economy, because investors will not have confidence that when you come to Ghana to invest in business and there is a problem, the law works. And 3, our credibility for peace and stability will be enhanced.
Still on the election petition, Imani Ghana has issued a press release saying the winner of the Supreme Court's verdict will need to deal with the threat of industrial decay to save the economy. The policy think tank says a combination of adverse factors like the falling cedi, energy poverty and unannounced increases in taxes has led to industries failing in an alarming way. The statement signed by Imani's president Franklin Cudjoe concludes that political leaders must urgently address the crumbling pillars of the economy, reiterating that making industry operation expensive and costly cripples Ghana domestically and internationally. Chief of Gbawe Traditional Area Ni Adam Kwate has warned landguards who intimidate landowners through bullying to desist from the practice and rather settle disputes amicably. He was speaking at the 2013 Gbawe Homowo Festival in Accra.
In most Ghana traditional areas, the rapid pace at which land is disposed of has resulted in several problems, which include environmental degradation, multiple sale of lands, abuse by landguards and endless litigation. So, even though chieftaincy is prestigious, many chiefs and heads of Ghana towns have been scandalized in long court cases, which sometimes result in loss of lives. Addressing the people of Gbawe at the 2013 Homowo Festival, Chief of Gbawe Traditional Area Ni Adam Kwate said the increasing number of land guards has aggravated land dispute cases.
Well, you don't all need a land guard. What about you and shall you we? Sibone langard ka we selebon eba efite bi ke hoy en wason won bama wo kanti ye sipon hi ko ya ko boko ni jodun do ta wo langard na ya wabo si wo ko mo ko no wo ha langard no o ke de ka jilan wo ya fe ya isia ko ni na kan langard ya akpa kaji mo oshipo hectare ni mo ko te ko ben ko bo nyami no kraye ko bo e go bo higbele e ba wabo.
Secretary of the Gbawe Kwate family, Solomon Ni Afutu Kwate, said if government does not assist them demarcate their lands, they will lose 60% of the total square to other encroaching families.
Despite the success chalked by the family, so the family is facing a lot of challenges related to the land and other stools and families encroaching our land. Most of our land revenue generated are using to finance court cases instead of using the money to support the family and also to reduce poverty within the communities. We therefore wish to appeal all head of families, Parliament Chief in Ghana State, to use this Homowo celebration to unify the Ghana State.
Deputy Minister for Land and Natural Resources Barbara Samoa assured them government is working towards solving the demarcation problem. The Gbawe Development Foundation was inaugurated to deal with 3 fundamental needs of indigents of Gbawe: education, environment and sanitation, as well as social infrastructural development. The theme for this year's celebration is using Homowo celebration as a tool to foster sanity in land management within the Ghana State.
So on that Homowo note, we end the AM news. Out of stories this morning, President Mahama has nominated 29 more municipal, metropolitan and district chief executives. For the full list, check it out on myjoyonline.com. The executive director for the West African Network for Peacebuilding says the election petition has put Ghana's electoral processes through the mill and lessons learned should improve future polls. The head of the Ghana Journalists Association cleared the air on outcome of press meeting with national security. My name is Gifty and I'll be coming up next as the AM Sports. Do stay tuned.